Hey there guys, welcome to this video. My name is Pushpinder Gill and we're going to talk about the GMAT Focus Edition in this video, which is the new GMAT test which will be rolled out in the year 2023 and 2024. Now this is a considerable and a significant change in the GMAT test. So if you have started preparing for your GMAT, this is going to have some implications for you. So in nutshell, GMAT is changing. But before we talk about what changes are forthcoming, let's talk about why do we even need a change? Why do we need a new GMAT? Well, first of all, the business needs are changing. I myself, I'm a business school professor, and I can completely vouch for that. The business school education is changing. There is much more need to focus on especially data literacy skills. Every business is being affected by data. You've got AI, which has been there for a long time, but which has started to become mainstream with the likes of ChatGPT and Google Bard coming in. So that is going to influence every job, whether in a significant manner or not, but it's going to influence every job out there. So there is a high need for data literacy. So when I say data literacy, I don't mean that you need to be really good at coding, but you need to be able to understand how to work with data. And there is a high need for critical reasoning skills, and I believe those both skills go hand in hand. And there is the emphasis on grammar skills seem to have slowed down. Those skills are not so important nowadays because there are many tools which are available which can help you in your grammar, and those skills are becoming not so important. They are important, but they are not so important that they should be included in an admission test. And then there are specific skills, such as geometry, which are not really needed when it comes to the GMAT test or business education in general. So GMAT is becoming more focused. It's eliminating clutter so that it can help students to prepare. Students take less time to prepare, and that will also help business schools to recruit students. So let's talk about the changes. Let's talk about what changes are forthcoming in the new GMAT test. So change number one, which I'll start with the biggest changes, is now the GMAT is switching from 4 sections to 3 sections. So if you look at the current GMAT test, it has the quantitative reasoning section, it has the verbal reasoning section, it has the integrated reasoning section, which was introduced recently in 2012 or 13, and then you have the analytical writing assessment section. The biggest change which is forthcoming is that the analytical writing assessment section is going to be completely removed. So that means there's not going to be any writing in your GMAT test. For some it's a good news, for some it's not so much, but that's the truth. And then the second biggest change is with respect to the integrated reasoning section. Now I remember when the integrated reasoning section was introduced in 2012, and GMAT's reasoning was that the business needs are changing. There's a need to integrate verbal and quantitative skills together. Hence, there was the integrated reasoning section, and now the GMAT is introducing a new section called Data Insights, and it's eliminating integrated reasoning section. So the Data Insights section, we'll talk more about that in the upcoming slide, but in a nutshell, the Data Insights section tests your quantitative and verbal skills in application towards data. So the other 2 sections are retained, but there are significant changes in these 2 sections. We'll talk about those changes in the upcoming slides right now. So overall, there are big changes. I can easily say that. So then let's talk about change number 2, which is the new data insights section. And I think this is going to be very important for business schools. Now, I myself am a business school professor, and I understand that GMAT had the integrated reasoning section. However, it was not so useful to business schools in gauging students' data literacy skills or the skills that would be needed so that they can be successful in their business education. However, I believe the data insight section will actually help business schools in finding students who have good data literacy skills. And it's actually important. So I teach marketing research at a university, and it's completely filled with data, with secondary data sources. We talk a lot about data, and if a student does not have a good understanding about data, then the student will not be successful in the course, in the MBA course. It's actually absolutely critical that students have a good understanding of data before they embark on their GMAT journey. And I believe this data insights section, preparation for data insights section, will not only help students prepare for their GMAT, but also help them in their business school education and in their careers as well. So the data insights, so coming back to the GMAT, so the data insights section is basically a combination of the previous integrated reasoning section and the data sufficiency questions, which were formerly part of the quantitative reasoning section. So data sufficiency has been pulled out of quantitative reasoning section, so hence it's going to be all problem solving. So if you're new to the GMAT, problem solving questions are the questions where you got 5 options and you're supposed to answer out of those 5 options. Data sufficiency is where you get 2 statements and you have to prove, or you have to identify which statement is sufficient to answer the question. There are videos on data sufficiency that I have put that you can actually view. So data insight section has 20 questions, and it may need mathematical computations, it may need data analysis, and it may need verbal reasoning, and a combination of these 3 skills. So you have to develop these 3 skills. An on-screen calculator is available, so that means there is no need for learning a lot of quick mathematics in this section, computation in this section. However, I believe this is going to be very critical. It's going to need a lot of critical reasoning skills. That's what I think. So that's the new data insight section, and I'm very excited for this because I have been dealing with data for the past almost a decade, and I believe it's a new way of doing business and a new way of moving forward. And I'm happy that the GMAT is kind of picking up on that. Okay, so moving on to change number 3. So let's talk a little bit more about the data insight section. So it basically has 5 types of questions. So you got data sufficiency questions. You've got multi-source reasoning questions. So you're supposed to draw inferences from sources. You're supposed to identify discrepancies. You're supposed to analyze data about relevant information. And these are the skills which I believe, in my opinion, you cannot just create these skills in a matter of a month or a few months. These skills take time to develop. So GMAT would really test you on whether you have developed those skills in the past or not. And then you got table analysis, which is how well you can analyze and organize data presented in a table format. So if you have experience working in Excel, then I believe this would be helpful. Then you got graphics interpretation, which is analyzing graphics, making inferences, and discern relationships. So we'll talk about that. And then you got 2-part analysis, which is testing your aptitude in problems which involve quantitative as well as verbal reasoning. So you're given some quantitative problem, and then you ask some verbal question from that. So sounds pretty complicated. However, I believe with practice, you can understand, you can become better. So this will require a lot of practice if you do not have, if you have not really worked in a data environment before. But I'm here to help you guys. So I'll be making lots and lots of videos helping you prepare for it. Okay, so change number 3, which I believe is a good change for GMAT test takers, which is now you get an option to review questions. So in the old GMAT, if you have answered the question, you cannot go back to change the answer. You cannot even go back to review what you did. So here you can bookmark and review as many questions as possible, kind of like the GRE test here. But unlike GRE, where you can change as many questions as you want in a section, here you can only change up to 3 answers per question. Because GMAT is an adaptive test, it adapts the way you respond to the question. So you can only change up to 3 answers a question, 3 answers per section. It's supposed to be section here. Sorry about that. So this is 3 answers per section. So, which I believe is a good change. And I think if you have, I have personal experience of taking the GMAT test, and in all the tests that I've taken, sometimes there's a question where you say, okay, I want to come back to this. You can always come back to that, and that this is going to change the GMAT test taking strategy by a lot. So I believe it's crucial that you utilize the option given to you to review 3 answers per section. So I believe that's important. Okay, now change number 4, which is the changes in the quantitative section. Now, the first change, which I've already stated, is that there's not going to be any data sufficiency in the GMAT quantitative section. There's only going to be problem-solving questions. So problem-solving questions are the questions where you've given a problem and there is an answer, and you're supposed to choose the answers out of the 5 options given to you. On the other hand, data sufficiency questions is that you've given a question and you've asked which statement would solve the question. So that's a different type of question. And data sufficiency has not been eliminated. It has actually been moved to the data insight section. Another good news is that there's no geometry section. I believe in business school education, you don't really need that much of a geometry. So if you're taking any marketing courses, I don't believe there's any geometry which is being used. So the GMAT has completely eliminated that. And the number of questions have been reduced to 21. So you've given 21 questions and you're supposed to answer them in 45 minutes. So a little bit over 2 minutes per question. So which is a good thing. Less questions means less quantity of focus required. You can focus all your attention to these 21 questions. There have been many students who just got exhausted because there were just too many questions. But on the other hand, few questions mean each question matters more, and if you get it wrong, you'll be penalized more. So it's kind of a trade-off. But I think in overall, it's actually good news. The next is the changes in the verbal section, and sentence correction has been completely removed. So it's good news to all non-native English speakers who struggle with sentence correction, and only critical reasoning and reading comprehension has been retained. And again, there are 23 questions and you're given 45 minutes for that. So this is a little less than 2 minutes per question. So that again is important. Again, the number of questions have been reduced. Hence, it's called the GMAT Focus Edition. Now let's summarize what we have just discussed. So first of all, the exam duration is for 2 hours and 15 minutes, which means each section is 45 minutes. And then you've got 3 sections, which is quantitative reasoning section, the verbal reasoning section, and the data insight section, which means there is no AWA section. So that means there's nothing to write, and all questions are multiple choice questions. which I believe is a good thing, which keeps the students focused in just one particular way. Then one good thing about the new test is that there is any order possible for the sections. So you can write the quantitative reasoning section first, or the second, or the third, in whichever order that you want. But you cannot switch between sections. So once you start a section, you have to finish it. Which I believe is a good thing again for students. Now they can focus on their strengths first or their weakness first, whichever their strategy is, which I believe has to be customized with respect to students. And again, there is a lot of flexibility. You can bookmark and review as many questions you want. By review, I mean you can go back to the question, and you can only change answers for up to three. You can only change 3 answers per section, which means you can only change answers for 3 questions. Now, with respect to the dates, the official prep for the GMAT Focus will be available in April, May, and June. So as soon as we get the official prep, we will prepare the videos and the content for the new test, as the old content will not really be applicable to the new test. The registration for the test will open on July, which was the Q3, August and September, and the testing for the Focus Edition will start from October, November, and December. So those are the dates. So if you're planning to write your GMAT in the near future, then you would be writing the GMAT Focus Edition, because this new GMAT will actually replace the old GMAT. So the old GMAT will no longer be available. So there's that. So I will be making content. I will be creating content to help you guys out, and I will create the complete course, and I look forward to creating the content and look forward to interacting with you. Feel free to shoot me an email. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you very much for listening to the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.